Good evening, everyone. Welcome to my channel once again. So we are at a interesting area that I'm looking at for a potential bounce. I think we could see further downside, but I am looking at this area and I just sharing the confluences I see in this area for potential bounce, right? So I'm going to be starting to do these videos again and bringing back the education group and trade setups, etc. This isn't like a signals platform or anything like that. It's just a means of doing analysis and looking at potential entry points, right? And explaining for those that might not know why those areas are important and why certain things could happen at those areas. Whether they play out or not, is anyone's guess. No one is Nostradamus, right? But as a trader, you look for certain confluences and opportunities, and my aim is just to help people know how to point some of those areas out. Okay, so with that said, what we have right now is we're currently sitting on an area of potential support, right? I say potential support because yes, it was support previously. If we look at the trend line over here, we have support, and we'll see whether the support over here holds, right? We can look at an area of resistance here quickly, resistance. Right, so you can see it's in a bit of a channel. So let's point out this resistance, right? So does the support area hold or does it completely collapse down? We'll have to see. I want to point out some things and what I'm waiting for to kind of make my move, right? At this point, everything is still incredibly, there's no real signs that any buyers are in control or anything like that. So I'm going to wait for some things like breaks of counter trend lines, etc. To make a bit more of an informed decision. So let's just try and find some more areas of support and resistance. I think if I drop down to a smaller time frame here quickly. Let's try and clean some of this up here. Right? Potential support, but not quite support yet. Let's look a bit back into the past here. As you can see, this area here is a potential support and resistance area. As you can see, it formed previous resistance, broke that resistance and tested as support one time over there, right? So that could potentially help hold here as support, right? Another tool I like to use is my anchored VWAP, which is simple to find. It's just here in your tool somewhere. But let's put an anchored VWAP at the peak. (2001) November, and as we can see, this was a major area for support and resistance, right? So resistance, 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 resistance. It held all that resistance, right? So what I want to look at now is placing an anchored VWAP at the retest of that broken resistance as support over here. I like the color, right? The anchored VWAP coincides with the support area, so that could now potentially add further confluence that we could get a bounce from here. Remember, guys, trading is about looking at all the like, let's say, putting the confluences together and then making a calculated decision, right? So although we have these confluences so far, for me, not yet. I don't feel quite comfortable just yet. So what else do I want to look at? Let's take a simple Fibonacci here quickly, from this low to this high. So it is sitting on a Fibonacci retracement level 23.6. Now, usually what I wait for, what I like is, your golden pocket area here between the 61.8 and 78.6 area. But, that could take a longer time to get to. For now, this could potentially offer us support right now. If it breaks below, let's say for instance, the thing decides, it's going to break now all the support that I'm pointing out and then test that support as resistance and continue down. Complete possibility, guys. That's why I say it's just not right for me yet. I still want to see a few more other things in this area. And what are those? So as you can see, we now have this Fibonacci potential support there. I want to remove the Fibonacci because I don't like the chart to be too busy. Alright, let's look at our oscillators down here. So I obviously use the RSI, which is the relative strength index. I look for oversold conditions, and I look for divergences. So I want to see divergence and oversold conditions on support, right, on my RSI, which is the relative strength index. I also use the MFI, which is probably my favorite between the two, which is the money flow index, which is basically your RSI, but it also inputs volume into that. So I kind of prefer it more, but I like to look at both, right? So what do we see here? Let's go to the daily. Let's check it down from the daily time frame and see what we see here. Let's look at this previous low. There's not quite divergences there. For those that don't know what divergences are, it's when, let's say, the chart is doing one thing, but the oscillator does an opposite move. I'll look for examples just now. Okay, I think here's a quick example of divergence. So as you can see over here, this low is lower than this low, right? So you have an upward movement like that. But down here, on your MFI, you'll see this low is higher than this low. You see, there's a divergence. So those things are like, for instance, signs that either a reversal of the downtrend or continuation of the bull trend, right? So you get three different types of divergences. You get your classic divergence, regular divergence, right? That's basically what I showed you now. You get hidden divergences and you get exaggerated divergences. So those are kind of things that you must just go look up for yourself. YouTube is full of explanations. Don't want to waste too much time on that. Right? So for instance, over here, if you got that divergence, you could have looked for, let's just go. You see, you have this anchor viewer from the low offering support, and on a you'll see that you have divergences on a support area. You could then look for counter trend line breaks from the past. You see, you look for resistance, 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 brace resistance, test as support, rallies into the next resistance, and then comes back to broken resistance, test as support again. On an anchored VWAP, which offered support, and you have bullish divergence, and what you can see is a bit of a double bottom, breaks, retest. So that's just an example of previous ways that you would put together different confluences, right? So let me not waste too much time with this. I want to get back to where we are right now. Right? So let's go now down to the smaller time frames. Let's look at the 4-hour chart. Right? So now we have an area, right? This is what I call an area of interest, right? It's an area of interest because it's finding potential support at a trend line that has acted as support twice before, right? It's finding support at this anchored VWAP, which touched it the last time. Anchored VWAP is a very powerful tool, guys, so do your researches. I would say check out Brian Shannon from Alpha Trends. He's basically the one that created this indicator, so he should be the best one to teach you how to accurately apply it. But you can look, we have support, right? Support, resistance, breaks back above and keeps the market up. Now here it's bouncing on that potential support here, right? But what I now want to see is we have a downtrend, right? So I also want to look at this trend line over here. So what could potentially happen, and this is what I'm waiting for, it could grind, form, because you see, right now we are at a tricky area. It's kind of below this low, but it's still kind of above the support here. So remember, support resistance areas aren't as nice and clear cut, just with a nice thin line. You know, it's more of an area like this. So that's why I say I want to see further confluences, because it could just go sideways and then continue its collapse, right? There's news of Evergrande filing for bankruptcy. This is in China. Those are things that are going to have major repercussions on the market. Inflation is sticky. The Fed is probably going to raise hike rates again. Is it in September? I think, yeah. And what else is there? The banks, yeah. The trouble with the banks aren't over yet. So we just have to be vigilant, man. So already I can see here, if we take, and this is why the MFI is more of a favorite tool of mine. Let me just quickly get like a vertical line. If we look at this lows here, right, and we take the current low here. Okay, it doesn't quite go. I thought it would have showed me something here. Anyway, as you can see, this low over here is way higher than this low over here. But if you look at the MFI down here, you see there's no divergences on the RSI. But on the MFI, we have this low being lower than this low. Potential bullish divergence. Right? Well, let's say it is bullish divergence. We don't know how it's going to play out yet. So, what I'm waiting for now to see what happens tomorrow or sometime in the week is a break. I see we're already showing that rejection here. Now you could potentially have, let me rather say, for me, I would rather wait for, this is it's a more reliable trend line to look at, I guess, because it's on a bit of a higher time frame. So resistance over there, resistance over there, resistance over there, right? So if we break and retest, right, then I would look for a potential buy entry to at least back up to this trend line over here, and then obviously see what happens from there, because obviously that's the next resistance area. Resistance. So if it breaks this, retest, maybe Tuesday, we see a pop back up. However, if you are rock and roll, you can look for potential for maybe an even tighter entry. So this could be, remember guys, this is not financial advice. I'm just showing you guys how to apply certain principles of trading, like practically. My idea, like, with the group that I was in previously when I was teaching, I make entry calls and stuff there, but that's not something that's something I'm definitely not doing with this group. This is strictly an educational group. I'm showing you practical examples and how to practically apply confluences, right? So when I say these are areas I'm looking at, these are areas that I'm looking at, and I'm showing you why I'm looking at those areas. I'm pointing out the confluences. Now, whether they work out or not, that's part of the game. That's where you learn things like risk management and applying proper risk management. But the game is all about finding confluences, making a calculated decision, and then, whether it fails or whatever the case may be, you're confident that you followed your rules and you consistently apply them, right? With that said, for a possibility of an even tighter entry, now you see you had this retest actually on Friday, you see. Where you had resistance, and then resistance, and then resistance, and then some more resistance, broke. You see what you can see here is then, here's another example of divergence. You see, you don't see it on the RSI, but you see it on the MFI. That's why I prefer the MFI. This low, higher than this low. This low, lower than this low. Bullish divergence on support, on a broken trend line. So there was an opportunity to at least ride it up, back up to this trend line over here. You see, so that opportunity could be missed, but it could pull back to that area again. But if it pulls back to that area, I'm not quite sure if I can trust it, because then it's back below the trend line again, you see. So that's why I'm saying what I'm doing now is waiting for a show of strength, right, from the bulls. Let's say it continues now, break. Then maybe we have a little inverted shoulder, neckline, head, shoulder, neckline. No, what am I saying? Sorry. Let me start again. Shoulder, neckline, head, neckline, shoulder. And if we get a break of that and a break of this resistance, right? something like that. So now you can now start to kind of like clean the entry up a little bit. We're in this area, we know what this gray box is, but let me take it away from now and just kind of have this little area there, right? Let's see if we have an anchored VWAP from this low here where it plays out. Let's see on this last peak. Yeah, you see. Just take this one over here. So I would look for, you see, as resistance, broke back above, broke back below, testing as resistance here. Right, so if it moves this anchored VWAP from this last peak, if we get a break like that, then I would look at potentially, you know, I'm not saying this is an entry, I'm showing you guys potential. So that's what I'm waiting for before I make my decision. Now when that happens, if that happens, I would like to see these oscillators come down again, because the way it's looking now is, you see, these things pumped up. There's a lot of volatility into overbought conditions again at this resistance. So that's what I'm saying. I don't trust it yet. This could potentially just be another opportunity for a sell back down. Right? But for now, I want to see what happens. If we get that break, retest, back up to there, then maybe a drop. But the way the market's looking is, you have to consider the possibility that this might continue down. There's a lot of bad news. I want to see more confluences. But these are the areas of interest that I'm looking at. And you can make your own decisions based on how you trade the markets, etc. Blah, blah, blah. I don't know if there's anything else. So for me, it's a break, a retest, then I would look at potentially buying. I don't know if this is, does that, all in the realm of possibility, but I showed you guys why I'm looking at this as an entry for potential bounce. We're getting quite oversold on the larger time frames. There's bullish divergences on support. I want to now see a push from the bulls, retest, and then back up to an area of resistance such as this one. As you can see here, if we take it to the past, it formed resistance, support, resistance, 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 support, 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 broke that support, acted as resistance, and it could potentially then be where it goes and turns around again. But that we'll have to see when we get there. So that's what I'm looking at for this week now, guys. And I hope you guys find the information valuable, that you can learn from this. This will be going on to YouTube, and I'll be making more of these YouTube videos. But I'm also bringing back my education group, where I'll be doing daily analysis. I hope to do it like I did in the past, with the morning, midday, evening updates, where I look at the market. Remember, guys, I look primarily at the Nasdaq 100. I like to trade it. I've done well with it, so I want to share my knowledge of Nasdaq with you guys. So, if you guys are looking for, you can apply these principles to anything else. You know what I'm saying? Bitcoin, gold, blah blah blah. As you guys can see, I do look at Bitcoin and gold and the other indices, but I'm most comfortable with the Nasdaq. So I'm going to show you guys how I trade the Nasdaq. Now, whether you find the information valuable or not, it's, that's up to you. But like I say, I will be launching a new group, and it won't be like the last time. I want to make it like, affordable, get in pretty low, but it'll be a subscription service. So, it'll be about, still deciding, but I'm looking at $10 a month, and obviously it's a subscription, so you can come and go as you please. So if you enter the group, you don't like it, you don't have to stay, you know. So yeah, oops, I've been here for a while. I don't have my charger with me. So yeah, guys, just wanted to point that out to you guys. Have a look at it and decide for yourselves whether it's something you would consider looking at least learning. So see you on the next one.